President of Instruction at Shasta College. And we've split up this presentation. But before I get started, I want to mention just three things. There are three overriding principles that I think you have to accept if you're going to go forward with dual enrollment. First is, and I'm quoting someone else, I don't know who said it, but I thought it was a great thing to say at the statewide conference on dual enrollment. There's nothing magic that happens in the 3 months between high school and college that makes students ready for college courses. They are ready at all different times, and many students are ready in high school for college level work. Second thing is, and we continue to talk to our faculty about this, it's the outcomes that count. You want students to achieve certain outcomes and not get hung up on 54 hours in a class, 108 hours in a class, seat time, that kind of thing. If students in high schools achieve the same outcomes from a course outline, they should get the same credit. And the last thing is just, it's the best thing to do for students. Hopefully our high school partners will attest that it's been massively popular with students, their parents, the community, high school administrators. It's been a really good thing. So having said those three things, I'll get started. I'll probably mess up on the slides, but I'll do my best. So I'm here just to give a little legislative background. As Diana mentioned, there were a couple of legislative bills, and the Chancellor's Office has been sponsoring them, which is great, that would have relaxed requirements, but they failed last year. So AB 288 is the one being introduced this year. And as Joe said, be careful what you wish for. It could put in more restrictions, but at this point, it does eliminate the tricky requirement of not having a closed class in order to collect apportionment. It would require that the community colleges and high schools have formal written partnerships, which is actually a great thing. Increase the number of units that can be taken to 15 a semester as opposed to 11. And some of you are thinking, rightly, okay, that could cause problems for athletics. So, once a student's at 12 units, they are eligible. So we need to think about that. It would emphasize the creation of career pathways, clear the way for better exchange of student information between the two systems, and all of this has to be very transparent, which at this point I think the way we do it actually is. So you heard a little bit about the state regulations. Generally, in our state, the two systems are very separate. However, we have found a way, and our auditors have approved the way to collect apportionment. And it requires a little bit of work because we have to go student by student. If a student takes a class at a high school campus with us, that is dual enrollment, and our definition is you take a class at a high school campus during the high school day, taught by a high school instructor who meets minimum qualifications. The high school can collect apportionment, and we can if the student is taking 240 minutes at the high school aside from that, which I believe is generally 4 periods. So if they take a 5th, 6th, 7th period with us, with a class that we schedule, then the high school can collect apportionment and we collect apportionment as well. But we do have to go through rosters and exclude those students who don't need that, because many high school students only take 240 minutes. And then, of course, the 11 units a semester, that limitation. Okay, so the open class requirement, in your packet, and Liz may speak to this, there is language that our K-12 partners have agreed to. I think it says something along the lines of classes are open to the extent they are open to our high school students. So that allows them some restriction on, you can't just have people wandering around a high school campus, but that is language that both the Chancellor's Office in the past and our auditors have approved, and our high school partners are okay with that. In reality, when you schedule a history class, say 5 days a week, on a high school campus or 2 days a week on a college campus, most of your college students aren't going to pick the high school class. We have had non-high school students who signed up for high school classes, probably no more than about a dozen or less than that, and we do find a way to make it work. At this point, those classes do have to be open. However, it's more the exception than the rule that becomes an issue. Other state requirements. Here's the biggest stumbling block to really expanding the program, which is having high school instructors who meet our minimum quals, which for many classes is a master's degree in the discipline. We have many high school instructors who have master's degrees in education, but we do require, in some cases, the discipline. We think we may talk a little bit about plans for the future of how we can alleviate that. I think the big picture, and this happens in many states, is once we get a stronger connection with the 4 years, we would actually like to help our high school faculty reach that level. If we get through all the morass of the Ed Code and Title V and everything else, then I think we can actually move forward and make that work. Of course, the enrollment fee waiver helps. Students who take dual enrollment classes at high schools, we do not even charge the health fee. They pay nothing, and that's a policy that we've adopted. And just to be clear, the high school teacher meets our minimum qualifications, goes through an orientation, is evaluated, but is not our employee. We have instructional service agreements that specify, like all of them do, that during the time they teach our course outline of record, we have to have control over that content, but they are not our employees. And then, of course, the students have to meet any prerequisites, enrollment restrictions. Of course, there are ways to challenge a prerequisite if they haven't taken exactly the same course. Okay, and again, you've heard this already. Unlike articulation courses, they're on the college transcript like any other community college course. There's no notation, no asterisk. They do not have to take extra exams to earn credit. And again, as the precedent emphasized, they have to have the same rigor. They have to meet the same outcomes as if they took the course from our instructor on our campus or online, for example. And then really another byproduct is dual enrollment students really have to think of themselves as college students, and we're trying to institute more requirements for them. I just talked yesterday to our Dean of Enrollment. We'd like to put them through orientation, get them started on counseling, and have them understand not just the subject matter of what they're studying, but how to be a college student and how to succeed once hopefully they come to us or go to another college. Okay, that's my piece. So now Liz Cohn, everyone's best friend.
Hi everyone. I am excited to be here today and excited to see everyone here. This is what I do every day, so it's really cool to see this imagery here surrounding this topic. So the first part I'm going to present has to do with the process for high school participation, how we select classes and approve them. So this is the form I'm talking about. The first one, so hold on, let me get to my notes here that Meredith stole from me. Okay, so the first is, what we do is we identify the course and submit the course request form. So the high school instructor identifies the corresponding course. So how do they do this? A lot of them call me and they explain what their course is, and what we do is we look at our course descriptions at the college, and then we also look at our course outlines and they see which discipline they would fit into. And then what happens is they talk to our college faculty and they talk about whatever they're teaching and make sure the courses are aligned, and whatever's in the high school course is also in the college course, so it can be combined and make sure we're hitting all of our principles that we need to. So next they fill out this form, and the first question is, do they want to dual enroll or articulate? And if the high school instructor meets the minimum quals, we encourage them to dual enroll. So at that point, they would submit this form, attach their course outline, and if they've never taught a dual enroll course before, they would include their application, resume, and transcripts. And so they submit this as a complete packet. So next is the agreement and approval process. So I collect all of these forms. This year we have about 130 different requests. And they are then reviewed by our faculty, our deans, and our vice president. And from there, the deans complete interviews as needed, and then we have correspondence with our potential instructors, and we notify the high schools which ones are approved or not approved, or what they might need to do to get it approved in the future. Next is implementation, and this is a very simplified version. I was going to get a little more into this, but the instructor attends a training, and it's a pretty thorough training. We go through the entire instructor handbook that you guys have, so we talk about how they have to facilitate enrollment. There's no admissions department on our high school campuses, so our students go to them with a lot of questions, and so they need to be well versed in all the college lingo. They know the drop dates, drop procedures, and I'm in constant communication with them on all these topics. And then also the instructor is responsible for all the end of term reporting that Eva will talk more about, so grades and SLOs. Next we have Eva to talk about the dean's perspective.
Okay, good morning. Okay, show of hands. First of all, I kind of want to know who my audience is. How many are from the high school today? Just show of hands so I know. Outstanding. So that's a good 90%, I'm going to say. Okay, good. So from a dean's perspective, I want to say the first and foremost, the most important thing for me is dual enrollment has truly enhanced and motivated, and it's a great incentive to increase the faculty relationships between community colleges and the high school. It has to, right? You have to get along to make this work for your students. I'm not saying that you don't, I'm just saying it's key. So know that going into it, and it's great to see all these high school participants here today, that community college instructors want to work with you. Now again, I'm coming to you from the Shasta College's perspective. So from my perspective in our district, we have amazing relationships with our high schools, which you'll hear about in just a minute. So know that going into this, your faculty will have to talk to each other. So break down those walls, talk about the best ways to make that happen, whether it's over coffee, right? Provide lunches, whatever you need to do. And initially, as we beta tested some of this, we did a lot of that. We provided pizza, lunches, after work, again, just provide food and they will come. So keep that in mind. We know that golden rule. Also, don't let the minimum quals be an intimidating factor for most of you in high school. So some of you are thinking, what is that exactly? Again, everybody's, I think Dr. Wise, Meredith, and Liz have all said those two words, minimum qualifications. So what are those, and what does that mean to you as a high school faculty member? As you're filling out the form that Liz just walked through, as you see, one of the questions is, as a high school faculty member, what degree do you hold, a master's, a bachelor's, AA? So I want to take you to that website, which is found at our communitycolleges.ccco.edu. And you may want to write that down because I don't think that's written down. So it's I'll go back to that slide in just a minute. But once you get to this website under minimum qualifications, and you can type in minimum qualifications in the search engine, you'll get to this website, minimum quals, and down here, in this bottom, my bottom right, your bottom left, is a handbook. And you click on that handbook, and it will take you to the most current, 2014, and we update this every year. So every year the Chancellor's Office will update minimum quals based on curriculum changes, changes from Academic Senate. Again, Academic Senate leads this handbook. They're the ones that regulate what minimum quals faculty should have to be able to teach a course. And again, this is Academic Senate at community colleges. So this, again, I'll tell you, there's 90 pages, okay, this handbook. Don't print it. You can if you like. But what you can do is scroll through it, and it will take you to, it makes a little swoosh sound, you notice that? I didn't realize that, my speakers are always off. Okay. It's in alphabetical order, by the way. These are the new ones that they've added. They're typically at the front of the handbook. If they make any changes to any of the programs, they're typically at the beginning. But once you get past that, it should be in alphabetical order. So you can look at, and I know this is hard to see, I'll see if I can zoom in. Oh, I can, great. For those of you over the age of 40. And I'm happy to say that I am over the age of 40 and I still don't wear glasses. Just saying. It's coming, I know. So again, scroll through it, and based on what you want to teach, it will tell you, and I'll just give you an example here. I don't know if this is a good one, but we'll go with it. So to teach writing skills, basic skills course, you will need a bachelor's degree in English, literature, comparative literature, composition. I mean, it's pretty extensive, right? You will need to hold that bachelor's, or, right? Keep in mind there's always an or, typically there's an or. They're giving you what the other option is. Bachelor's degree in any discipline, plus 12 semester units of coursework in teaching reading. Do you see that? So, again, make sure you look at this handbook. You know your credentials better than anybody, and then you can determine if you meet those minimum quals. So as a dean, again, my role is to look at the applications and determine, and I also have to refer to this handbook often and decide whether you as a high school faculty member meet those minimum quals. And sometimes there's some gray areas, and so I pick up the phone and I call you and I talk to you about, maybe some training that you facilitated, because in some CTE programs, which are most of the programs that I oversee, there's AAs plus 6 years work experience, for example. And so we talk about your work experience to make sure that you actually do meet the 6 years work experience in the jobs that you held prior to teaching, okay? So again, have that conversation with your dean, look at the minimum quals handbook, and then make that decision before you go through the process of applying. But we can help you with that. So that's the minimum quals section. Any questions on that? Yes?
Did you say there was a 2014 or just a 2012?
Right now there's a 2014. Every year we update this. So I believe in August they'll put the 2015 minimum quals up. But right now you can look at this and gauge whether or not you meet those minimum quals. Any other questions on it? Yes? Yes, I am going to go back to it. Oh, that doesn't show up very well. Let me read it really slowly because I talk really fast. Okay, www.californiacommunitycolleges.edu. Which stands for California Community Colleges Chancellor's Office. .edu. Okay. I'm being told I'm taking too long. Okay, moving on. Oh, you guys, don't write that second link, trust me. Just go to that first one, and then type in minimum qualifications, and it'll bring you up to that long one, okay? So, californiacommunitycolleges.ccco.edu. Okay? All right. Next. I know, Liz, I'm going as fast as I can. Also, another thing that's really scary for some of the high school instructors, and I completely understand, is once you get through the application, we decide, yes, we want you, but now we have to make you a part of our part-time family, right? You get to become a Shasta College part-time instructor. That means that you have to go through our procedures, which is an interview. So you will have to come in and interview with your dean. Not everyone is as nice as I am. So, there's of course the structured questions. Oftentimes for part-time faculty, we go through an actual presentation, a delivery to make sure you can teach. But in most cases, if you're teaching at a high school, don't tell Meredith, I just waive that. Like, shut your ears. Yeah. And faculty are also in the interview with me. So it's not just myself, but the faculty from that discipline are also in the interview as panel members. Thank you, Meredith. Also, evaluations are key. So we will go into your classroom that is dual enrolled and we will evaluate you. We've provided a copy of, I believe, just the STOTS in the handbook, Liz. Is the evaluation on there as well of what we, okay. So in the handbook, you'll see examples of, again, the things that we look at when we go into your classroom. So a faculty member from the college will come visit you. Almost every time, in my case, it's announced, it's planned. So, you work with the instructor, decide when a good day and time is. Granted, we can come in unannounced. That is always an option for us. But again, we do our best to work with you. We'll go in, evaluate you, and not only does the faculty member evaluate you, but also your students, okay? Which is really new for high school faculty, right? I mean, that's unheard of. But it does happen in a dual enrolled class, and that's called STOTS. And what happens with that is after your grades are submitted, okay, we then send you your STOTS, your student opinion of teaching, and then you can kind of look at the feedback. Again, that's after grades are submitted for the obvious reasons. Faculty, though, that do come in and evaluate your classroom will meet with you and review your evaluation, okay? And that has to happen by contract within 5 working days, okay? So they will come to your class, evaluate you, and then set up a meeting. The big question, again, this gets into a lot of detail, I'm running out of time. So, I'm out of time?
2 minutes. I saved you some time.
I want to say this because I get this question often as high school faculty members. The high schoolers will say, who sees my evaluation and my student evaluations? College administrators get to see them. Obviously, the faculty member that's out evaluating you also gets to see them, and you get to see them. Who's left out of that picture? High school administrators. Anybody. So again, they're completely confidential. We do not send them to your high school administrators. That's just a big question that is asked. Okay. Any questions on the interview or evaluations? Okay. Yes?
When I do evaluations, I generally, the fact that you see during the semester, for corrective reasons. Why do you guys wait until after it's rendered? Because what we do is we take the review out and then we tally it. So they don't see handwriting or anything on the,
Yeah. So what I've copied and pasted here is actually directly out of our faculty negotiated contract, keyword negotiated. So our faculty association, the union, has negotiated that they do not want these evaluations sent out until after the semester ends. I think for some, again, it is that, you can still read the handwriting and compare to see what student wrote what, based.
We compile it, we type it up.
Oh, you type it up, and we type it up as well now. So it's just a faculty union.
Extra protection.
It's extra protection for the students. I know every college is different. Again, this is how at Shasta College our contract is written. And again, at Shasta College, it's negotiated, but the part-time faculty member, if you look at the last sentence here, will receive a call, maybe I left it out, but it's once every 3 years is how our contract is written, because you might ask, how often am I evaluated? So in our faculty contract, it's once every 3 years is how it's written. So we're not necessarily out there every semester. Yeah, okay, I'll do questions at the end. always a rule breaker. You should know better. Okay, here are deadlines. Also, my role as a dean is to ensure that you need to adhere to deadlines. And again, if you attend the training that Liz conducts, going through that faculty handbook, we pretty much detail when census reports are due. You're probably like, what is that? We tell you what that is. We tell you when grades are due. We tell you when SLOs are due, which are student learning outcomes, which are huge for community colleges. And we walk you through how to do all that and how to use our online system. Everything is online, so you can pretty much sit at your desk at the high school and complete everything. So we make it pretty user-friendly. And lastly, because I'm out of time, is we are here to support you. Know that, again, as deans, our goal is to increase student success, access, and equity, and that's what we're here to do. And I just want to say that, I've been a dean for 5 years, and I've been exposed to dual enrollment for 5 years, and I can't tell you the amount of, I guess I should say, increased self-efficacy. I love that word in terms of high school students when they take a dual enroll class and they see that they can take a college course and they're successful. And it's a great transition because they have the high school faculty member there helping them. And so once they get through their first class, it's like their self-efficacy just increases. We have so many case studies and examples for you, but I'm a huge advocate and I encourage all of you to take the lead, right? Okay, I'm out of time. Thank you.
So I get to talk about the fun stuff. Finally, we have some fun stuff going on. So my big thing with this program is we're not just getting college credit. There's that word again that Joe referred to earlier. A lot of these students in their high school classes, they're like, oh yeah, I get college credit for that. But they have no idea what that means. So our goal is to help them understand what that means and that, they're not just getting college credit, but they're making progress toward a degree or a certificate or a career and a paycheck. So that's what we're trying to help them understand in order to get them on a pathway to Shasta or wherever they choose. So I am going to show our video that we showed students prior to enrollment.
You can now begin thinking of yourself as a college student. Dual Enrollment is this awesome program offered by Shasta College where you can get college credits while taking classes in high school. That means that right now you can make progress toward a degree, your career, and getting a higher paycheck. Basically, you take one class and get both high school and college credits at the same time. You can take up to 11 college credits per semester. How easy is it to sign up? Crazy easy. First, if you've never done so before, go online to shastacollege.edu to apply. Next, your instructor will give you a registration form to sign up for the college courses. Make sure you follow all of the instructions very carefully on the registration form or you won't be able to register. How much does it cost? Yeah, it's totally free. And once the semester is over, you'll walk away with a college transcript. The grade you earn in this Shasta College course will become a part of your permanent official college academic record. Also, if you need to drop a dual enrollment class at your high school, you also need to drop it with Shasta College. Don't forget, or you could receive an F on your official college transcript. Ask your instructor for details, including important drop dates that pertain to your class. All of this good stuff is located in our college catalog, which explains academic policies, programs, requirements, and much more. It is your guide to completing a degree or certificate. Check it out. Want further information on what you need to do to complete a degree or certificate? You can always meet with the Shasta College counselor in order to create your very own education plan. Visit shastacollege.edu/counseling to set up an appointment. By 2018, 75% of jobs will require a college degree. So congrats! Pat yourself on the back. You have taken the next step toward the career of your choice.
Okay, so as Eva just reminded me, when she and I were working on this video project,
That's very important as well.
oh no, frick. No, I'm okay, so where was I? Yeah. Okay, Eva was very smart to include all of you when we worked with the marketing firm. They said that they could easily switch out Shasta College stuff for your college stuff for that video. So, for a minimal fee, of course. So, if you guys are interested in using that video, let us know and we can put you in touch. And SB 1070 can support that. There you go. So, anyways, just mainly this is one example that we're trying to help students see that they are on a pathway to college and a career. Oh, that's what I was supposed to do. Okay, next example of we're not just getting college credit, we are making progress toward a career, is some flyers that we have. You probably can't see that extremely well, but on your right side, your left side, on your left side, what it has is a Shasta College Dual Enrollment Program, and it talks about this is if you're making progress toward an associate's degree in business, and it gives an example of a possible career. So this is general and operations managers. It gives a job description of what those people do, and then it also gives the average earnings in Reading for 2013. So they can kind of see if they complete this degree, this could potentially be what they do with their life. On the flip side of that, it lists all of the requirements for an associate's degree in business, and it has the dual enrolled or articulated courses highlighted. So it says take 4 Shasta College classes toward your degree here at Enterprise High. So we get these flyers out to students who are enrolled in these courses and also make them available for our high school counselors so they can have these conversations with students and hopefully get them excited about finishing their degree and see what they're making progress toward. Next, this isn't as fun. I'm done with the fun. This is our registration form. So this is the form that students fill out to register for courses. And the first box on this form is very important. You guys should all have a copy of this. I believe it's in the instructor handbook. And the first box has to do with applying. So first they need to apply to the college. We hope to have them do it online. They do have a paper application that's back up, but we try not to have them use that. So they apply to the college, and then the rest of the form's pretty self-explanatory. There are some things that I'd like to highlight. We have the principal approval on this form. We have the student signatures, 2 spots for that. Parent signature, and here's kind of a summary rundown of what they're agreeing to. The 11, that they understand, the 11 unit max, the prereq requirements, waived fees, paperwork. All paperwork is the responsibility of the student. And probably most importantly, that their grades become part of their official college record. And then that students are to act on their own behalf. So we try to get everything on this one form and have all the signatures on this one form so everyone can see it and be in agreement. So what happens after that is I collect all these forms and I turn them into admissions, and admissions registers them hopefully on the first day that the class is open to the public. So next we have our counselor expert, Mike O'Leary.
Hi there, everyone. I'm going to deal primarily with two areas, one more global and then the second very specific about things to watch out for on the high school campus. The global part is about the reason we're doing this and supporting this. When I moved to Reading back in the 80s and was a high school counselor, I was at a high school where less than 15% of the students went to a four-year college, excuse me. And I was amazed right away to discover that everybody spoke the language of A to G. Every student knew what courses to take for A to G. Everyone knew when the PSAT was and the SAT. Chico State came and visited our campus and met with students who were interested, and we never saw Shasta College. And at the end of 3 months there, I realized that as a counselor, I was now an expert on going to four-year schools from there, and I knew nothing about Shasta College. 80%, 70 to 80% of our students were going to Shasta College. And then we blamed the students because senior year they said, I'm just going to Shasta College, and didn't know what that meant. So that was a huge concern of mine. My primary population are going to Shasta College. And that just going to Shasta College is not a senior year decision. It's a sophomore year decision when I decide not to do foreign language. It's a junior year decision when I decide not to take another science. It's a decision when my senior year I decide not to take a math class and drop out of college prep because I don't really need it for Shasta College. So we've created a system that reinforces you don't really need to be educated to go to a community college. And then we blame that on the kids for not being ready. So what I love about this is that we want to create a system that allows them to become empowered to go to a community college. We have a program called College Connection. Does anyone else have a program, College Connection, where they spend their senior year at Shasta College? Okay, average students go out there their senior year, they're on the college campus, and lo and behold, a fantastic percentage, way over 90%, either stay at the college or transfer. Why? Because they're there, because they understand the system, because they get support. Then we started another system just last year where our 18-year-old students who are done with high school, they're 18, they're adults, they cannot graduate, they're down so many credits, it's called Gateway to College. We send them out to the college, there's a support program, they finish up their high school degree there. The graduation rate, taking college classes only, they get high school credit for it, I believe it's close to 99%, I'm not sure on that. And over 50% of those students who weren't even going to make it through high school have continued on at the college. And why? Because they're connected to it. So to me, dual enrollment is about that as well. Try to create a system where the students understand it and are connected and come in and the teachers say to me at the high school, honestly, they say this, how do any of these kids ever even make it to the college? I spent 4 days trying to get them on the computer just to register. They don't know their birth date, they don't know their social security number, they don't know their address or their phone number. They get halfway through and they get distracted and log out. Imagine them doing this on their own. And the other thing we've done in high school is we do, at least in our district, we do everything for them from 8th grade on. We sit down with them and help them pick their classes with their parents. We go to them every year. And then senior year in the past we've said, now go enroll at the college. And we're surprised that they're not able to do that. So what we love about the dual enrollment is we're not holding their hand, we're starting that process of them learning how to do this themselves. And you'd be surprised how much of the problem with this program is logistics. Getting the kids to sign up. Getting the kids just to do those steps. Okay, for your high school people, I'll just go through the list quick, and then if you have questions about it. Things to be aware of. Student drops. If a student switches classes or switches sections of the same class, they're still on the Shasta College roster. That's an F. The student has to be responsible for that. That's a huge issue because students move to another school, students leave. They're not used to having to be responsible for that. Why? Because in the high school system, we go around and check them out after the fact if they disappear. They're stuck with that F, and under the new repeat rules, that can haunt them later for financial aid, especially if they have 2 or 3 classes. They're in trouble when they come back 5 years later. Second item, how to do your transcripts. Communication is really key back on the high school campus. I thought I did a really good job, and I discovered, this may shock you, emails don't work for communication. You need to meet with people. We had one registrar who for an entire year, the students' high school credit was on their transcript, and then they added on the dual enroll classes separate on the high school transcript, so the student was getting double credit for all the classes. No one noticed that until the end of the year. That was exciting. I would talk to your registrars, have a clear system, how are we gonna handle this? We do not put dual enroll classes on our high school transcript. There's your college, here's ours. There are exceptions to that if the student needs the credits to graduate. But for example, we have a French class that's dual enrolled. It's a 5-unit class, which is additional credits that a student might need. Okay, other quick issues, the 4-class requirement, who's gonna monitor that? Educating students, parents, counselors. Our counselors were giving the kids the wrong information because we sent out an email, we assumed everyone would understand what that meant. Open enrollment issue. I'm also a part-time counselor at Shasta College, so in our district, if an adult tries to enroll in the class, I contact them and talk to them. And I just explain, which they can't really tell from signing up, that this is a high school class that meets every day of the week with 14 to 18-year-olds. And normally I say something joking like, remember how horrible high school was? And they go, yeah, I remember that. So we haven't had an issue with that, because once they understand that, and because I'm a college counselor as well, I can also advise them on alternatives, because they'll say, to be honest, all the ones I've spoken to, you know why they're taking that class? Because they're trying to get 12 units to get financial aid, and that class happens to be open. They're not even interested in the content, they just want a class, and then I talk to them about late starting classes or whatever else I can help them with. So I'm kind of serving in both roles then. The last thing and most important, the fact that they're stuck with these grades. Articulation is a little different, I don't know if that was explained. You can choose your grade or not in essence, because you have to apply for it. But dual enrollment, that F is there. So students need to take it seriously. In a dual enrolled class, we will have some students getting dual enrolled credit and others not within the same class. We don't want to chase them around and make them fill it out. This is on them. The other thing at a high school campus that just occurred to me is the issue of, just pick a subject, history. If you have a dual enrolled history class, you have 2 teachers next door to each other teaching the same subject, and one is dual enrolled and one is not because of minimum quals. That's an issue in our district, so all our classes that are academic, that are dual enrolled, are singletons taught by one teacher. So we don't know how to cross that road unless the rules change when we get to it we don't want kids randomly getting college credit and the kids next door not, just because of who they happen to take. And we also can't give any kind of priority to students who request it. So that's an issue that's more of a union issue maybe, or an administrative issue. How are we going to handle this in terms of dual enrollment? So we can, cherry-picked a little bit. We have a teacher here, it's the only teacher, it's a singleton, whatever that class is, and we'll give dual enrollment credit. 1 minute, I'm right on track. I'll stop there right now. Does anyone have any questions about any of those things I flew over? The other thing I would say is the more you can make this like a real college experience, it's not, I think Liz mentioned it, you're not just getting college credit for being in a high school class. This is a college class. You have to enroll as a college student. I would love to see us start doing class trips out to the college, have more people come, make it as much like a college class as possible, because if we do that, the resiliency issue will be much, much higher. I can tell you right now, the number of students in our area who never get in the door the first day to attend the class they want to is really, really high. I think we underestimate how difficult it is to transition from holding your hand in high school to being an adult and going out and doing everything and stand in line, and your class is canceled and now you have to get in line again and now you have to get back online. For a lot of people, that's really intimidating, and we want to teach them how to do that before they get there. So anyway, it's been a fantastic experience. The Shasta College faculty has been tremendous in working with the high school and tremendously supportive. And for us, it's a win-win-win. Parents can't believe it. My kids are getting college credit for a high school class. They're just astounded. So we really appreciate all the hard work that Shasta College has done. Thank you. And now I'll introduce Dr. Marianne Woods.
Well, I come from this, I already hit the wrong button. Next. Okay. From administrator's point of view, high school. So let's talk about the open campus. I know that can be a very scary proposition for school districts. The superintendent takes it to the board, and he has to explain, or she has to explain to the board what that might mean. But in reality, and we've been doing dual enrollment now for 5 years, I can only think of one instance
where we have had a community member sign up for the class, walk in the class with the 14-year-olds, and continue to take the class. And what we did was just some communication with that person and talk to the principal. You know, you might have a bearded person walking across campus, but it just doesn't happen. So many times community members may sign up. We asked actually the high school instructor to give a call and kind of explain what's going on a little bit, and it's fine. It just hasn't become any sort of problem at all for us. Nothing scary about it there at all. So I just want to give our experience, and I believe, Mike, you've had probably the same thing happen, and if you talk around local high schools that have an open campus situation, it just hasn't really been a problem at all for us. One of the things that we consider at the administrative level is the resources that we have. Do we have the faculty available? We all really recognize the benefits of these dual enrollment programs, and I'd have to say that in my small district we have about 1,800 students. Right now we have about 200 juniors and seniors taking dual enrollment classes. It's a hugely popular program, and the more people see it, the more they want to sign up for it, and faculty are interested in participating in it. So there is a lot of interest. So you start thinking about who on your campus is qualified, but a very, very important part of that is willing. You may have someone who meets the minimum qualifications, but is not so interested in the time investment. You have to explain that to them, that there is a lot of responsibility with this. They do go to an orientation, they have to have the evaluations, and you have to explain that. It's not something to be taken lightly. And sometimes our administrators and our counselors get really excited about this, and they start putting forth names, but you need to consider who's going to really faithfully teach the class and guide the students and advise them in the right way. So that's one thing that you have to consider. And sometimes it takes a couple of groundbreaking type of teachers to start it, then the other teachers can observe that and see that how beneficial it is. One thing that really helps is when your own child goes through one of these programs and earns a college credit. That's when you start to really understand the power of these classes. And so we think about that, who's available and willing to complete the program. And then have the students available. A lot of times our students don't really know it's available to them, and I love that Liz put together the brochure that shows the direct benefit for earning a degree, certificate, or transferring to a four-year university, so that the students understand why they're taking one of these classes, and the counseling staff can start recruiting some of these students and really explaining it. I think one area that in high schools, I don't know if this is your case, but the number one priority is communication. A lot of times we make decisions and we don't fully communicate our decisions to the counselors, to the teachers, to the students and the parents. And you have to be really careful about how you are explaining these programs and the benefits of them. Sometimes people just see, like Liz said, college credit, you know, and everyone's wants to grab for that, but you have to explain there's more than just college credit as a benefit. The other thing you have to think about in an administrative position is resources. You most likely will have to purchase new textbooks for some of these classes. I know in our district, we offer engineering classes, and we have to invest pretty heavily in some engineering textbooks. Those are not normally textbooks that are available at the high school catalog of textbooks to buy, so they're pretty expensive to do. But we make that a priority, and we're going to ensure that all the students have the textbooks that they need. So that's part of the Williams Act, and you have to fulfill that as well. So you could end up purchasing $80, $90 textbooks. but we do it. The other thing too is make sure that you have the technology available so they can teach these classes, so that might be another investment. So when you go into dual enrollment, you have to think about the entirety. Yes, it's wonderful to get the credits, but there is some investment that you have to make in people, money, things like that. Okay. Yes. Oh, yes, sorry.
What happens if a dual enrollment instructor gets sick, goes out on leave, and substitute comes in from the district and teaches the class?
Yeah, you can't have that. Okay, sick is one thing. So there are, generally our high school classes last longer than the required amount of hours. So once in a while, let's say we have an instructor who's a coach, he was a golf coach. So he was very careful about how many times he was out of the classroom so that he did, he fulfilled the hours that were required for that class. Leave of absence, that's not going to work.
Like somebody got hurt, they were in a car wreck.
Yeah.
This last season.
Yeah, I don't think it wouldn't work. Yeah, that would be a big problem. We haven't had that happen.
Obviously, the high school, there's going to be a teacher there.
Okay, personally, what I would do is I have 2 campuses that are running dual enrollment programs. If that were the case, I'm going to do everything I can to protect those students. So I would make some arrangements actually to have, for example, if I have a U.S. history class, I have 2, one on each campus, then I'm going to rearrange the schedule of that teacher a little bit so that they can come over and cover that class for those students. I mean, I'm going to do everything I possibly can to make sure those kids are fulfilled. I might, just speaking off the top of my head, I don't necessarily know if it's even legal, but I might try something with the union, maybe a temporary sort of MOU to have a college instructor come finish. I don't know. We have not had that situation arise. I don't know, Shasta? You ever had that?
Yeah, I mean, if it happened, I think the college would do whatever it could, either to get a qualified instructor of record so that we could finish the class for the students, or as far as I know, there's no law against saying, let's just wipe it out at this point if we can't find a solution, so that the students don't end up with a W or an F or something like that. But, think positively.
Another question? Yes.
What about, it's my understanding that a college course covers in one semester what a high school course would cover in a whole year, in 2 semesters. Like biology class at the college, they cover everything in one semester that a high school biology class would cover in a whole year. How's that work?
So we will dual enroll by semester. Okay, so the question is, sometimes college classes are in a semester what would be covered in a full year for a high school class. So we do enroll by semester. And I can think of one class we have, actually it's a welding class, that we get the kids, they basically start their college portion of their welding class sometime it seemed like it was November, yeah. And then they finish out. So we try to match as closely as possible the college calendar, basically. But sometimes what's going on too is for example, our U.S. history class, it's a year-long class on the high school campus, that's dual enrolled for 17A and 17B. These kids are getting a pretty nice benefit for being in a year-long class. They have 2 semesters of history.
So I was looking through Shasta College list of courses, and I saw AP US History, and I also saw AP Lit and AP Language. And I think piggybacks on what you were saying, those are semester-long classes, but the high schools are year-long classes.
Right, so we've only...
You make our
Sorry.
year-long AP class, and you're going to adopt this into a semester class.
So we only dual enrolled one semester of that AP, I think it's lit. Can't
So they
remember.
can take it all year, but
Yeah.
only one semester is
That's correct.
activating dual enrollment.
Yes.
So the college material has to be done in one semester. We don't care really what you do the other semester. So the college course has to be filled in the one semester.
Yeah, those outcomes that Meredith was referring to. We're out of time. Okay. The only other thing I was going to point to is, in your packet you have two checklists. One is, they weren't labeled, but the one that's the regular hamburger style. That's for if you want to dual enroll. This is just suggestions. This is what we found has worked for us. These are kind of some of the steps that we take in the dual enrollment between our district and Shasta College, Shasta High School District, Shasta College. So we tried to think of the different kind of steps. So when you get into your groups, you can probably take a look at these and think about that's something for you. Yeah?
Question.
Yes.
What is the impact of the W on a transcript?
Impact of a what?
The W on a transcript.
Well, it's the impact is at the college. It has nothing to do with the high school transcript.
I know. What is the impact?
I can answer that.
Oh, okay.
Well, the first one is you can get put on probation as a college student if you have too many W's. Oh, sorry. You can get put on probation. Hello. Okay.
If you have too many W's on your college transcript, at Shasta College, I don't know if it's a state rule, but it's above 50%, then you're put on academic probation. And the other thing is a W now counts as an attempt at the course. So if you're in that English 1A class and you get a W, that's your first attempt. You only get 3 total now. That's done. So in the old days, the W did not count as an attempt, and now it does. There might be other impacts as well, but those are the 2 primary ones I can think of.
Okay, the second checklist, the hot dog style, yes, checklist is for if you're thinking about an articulation agreement. These are practices that we've instituted, so you might have some other things you'll think about. Okay, I'm out of time. Sorry.
I just want to add the repeatability, one serious comment, one funny. Repeatability is only at the college, Shasta College. So if they started here and got a W and then went to Feather River, there's 3 attempts they get at Feather River. So just one little nuance. And secondly, if you're confused, I just learned this, that instead of portrait and landscape, it's hamburger and hot dog stuff. So in case you were wondering what the hamburger reference was, because I sure was.
So the articulation panel has gifted about 10 minutes of their time to go towards questions for dual enrollment. So do we have more questions? And are you all right giving up some time with articulation? Looks like we have dual enrollment questions.
So where you got 92 and 84?
Oh, you have. So where's your
Well, I was just curious why there are no mathematics classes offered dual enrollment.
You tell me. So the minimum quals in our system for math is a master's degree in math. And that's been a big stumbling block. We were just talking earlier, I think in our whole district, we know of only 2 math teachers who meet the minimum quals. But I have been talking to some of our math faculty. We're talking about, could the math faculty with the qualifications on our campus deliver content and then be the instructor of record and work as a team with the high school faculty? So that is something we're trying to work on. Longer term goal, like I said, is to help people get the masters if they like, if we can do that. But it's the minimum quals that cause that issue.
All right, hands up, hands high. This way to be official.
for the high schools, what effect did this have on your AP programs? Did it dual enrollment take over for AP?
I think it enhanced them, to be honest. Our students are still able to take the AP exam. They're still taught at a very rigorous level. And it has not in any way, I feel, taken away or detracted from those AP programs.
Yeah, I think there is the danger of that. Our experience has been the AP kids by junior and senior year have all been together. They're either out of AP because they didn't want to work that hard, or they're in it because it's their friends and they like the teachers. So we also anticipated, wow, everyone's just going to opt out. I think it could have an impact potentially on the number of kids who choose to take the AP test. It has not affected our enrollment, but it appears at one of the schools slightly less students are taking the AP test. But to be honest, I don't see that as a bad thing. They're not taking the AP test because they're already getting the college credit. So, but there is that fear among the AP teachers, will this destroy my program? That, we haven't seen that at all yet.
So my follow-up question, to piggyback on that, so for the AP kids, they would take the AP class all year long, however, the second semester would be dual enrollment with a college to get so it would still be labeled AP, but they're just getting the benefit of that.
Yeah, remember at our school, the high school transcript would just show AP English. There would be no indicator on the high school transcript that there's any difference, and they would have a separate college transcript that would say English 1A if that's what the student enrolled with.
Excellent, okay, and then when it comes to textbooks and materials are on all dual enrollment, is that the responsibility of the school district?
Well, my funny answer was going to be no, it's the college, but
I like that.
yeah, that's just working with the school and hoping at some point extra funding is available to help with that. That's been an issue primarily in our business classes because we have to keep up with the college technology-wise. So I try to use in CTE classes, use Perkins funding for that, and find the sources that I can, and try to get assistance from the college as much as we can.
Some of the concerns.
I was just going to add, right now our arrangement is that we also give $500 to the district for each course to help offset however they want, if it's stipends to the faculty, textbooks, whatever. So you can be a tough negotiator with the other colleges when you're setting these agreements up.
From the community college perspective, some of the things that we've been finding is our faculty concerned about the experience being the college experience at the high school with the dual enrollment instructor who's not one of our instructors. It sounds like from listening to you that it doesn't sound like it's necessarily the same college experience in the classroom, but maybe more of a transitional experience. Because they've got that familiar high school instructor. And what I mean by that is like the actual classroom dynamics. But that the content itself and the outcomes is the part that's the same. I guess I'm trying to figure out how to go back to my district and talk to faculty about how this works and trying to see, is that correct then? It's the content?
I'll let Meredith answer, but I just want to clear up that they are college instructors as well. Remember the whole interview application? And so you can't say that because they do become part of our college faculty family. And I neglected to say, for some, it's a big selling point for some faculty at the high school. Once you become our part-time faculty members, we oftentimes have called you and said, we have an evening class in business that we can't find somebody to teach, and you have them, you're in the pool. And some, part-timers want some extra income and can come out and continue to teach for us at the college. So that's another selling point for your high school faculty. And in terms of the environment, did you want to address that, Meredith?
Oh, just a little bit. I mean, I don't know about your district. In our district, it's just the reality that a lot of our current adjuncts are also high school instructors. So in many cases, it's the same person. As Eva says, though, I think another byproduct, and I don't know if the high schools would confirm this, but it's not just the students who rise to a higher standard. I think the faculty as well. That's why we have the orientation, that's why we make an effort to bring them into the fold. So yeah, I mean, a high school class is a high school class, we all remember that, but I think the expectations and things are probably at least comparable, and of course the outcomes are the same.
This side of the room, questions? One more over here.
And while you're running across that, I want to go back to the relationships. I think in some cases, the high school faculty do invite our college faculty oftentimes to come out and guest speak, or vice versa. They bring the classrooms out and talking labs for welding, for example, or ag. They invite the high school class to come out and visit our campus. So they really work together, well together, and the high school students see that relationship, that they are communicating back and forth, so they get a little bit of a different experience.
Last question. I just wanted to address your instructional service agreement, which I think is a fine document, but I just have a few concerns that come in play with the union. It appears that the high school instructors get evaluated, let's go through orientation, they have to go through every level that any other part-time instructor would, with the exception of pay. Have you gotten pushback from the union about the stipend? And is it possible then, because I think the line is a bit blurred, and I think that's my issue, is it possible for them to receive the adjunct rate as opposed to the stipend? And if not, is that because it poses another issue?
So the answer is no, we haven't gotten pushback, and please don't talk to anyone in our district. You know, I mean, you're right, Tammy, it does kind of raise the question, where's the line? I guess I'd answer it this way, or this may not be a great answer, but dual enrollment is kind of a voluntary thing. The high schools have to apply, the instructors have to want to do it. If people aren't happy with the arrangement, then they don't have to play for the most part. I know there are there are about 5 or 6 colleges in the state who have dual enrollment programs about as big as we do. And they don't all do it the same way. They don't all use ISAs. And so there are different ways to do it. But so far it just hasn't come up as an issue. I don't know if the high schools have experience.
I just would add from our perspective, the stipend and how that gets used is sort of, there is extra work involved and a little extra time, but the high school faculty already are paid for being in the classroom where they're not as dual enrolled. And so the stipend is for the extra work, but it's not really complete extra. They're not spending another 54 hours with the dual enrolled class or whatever. Do you see what I mean? So that's kind of the argument back. So.
That's wrong.
Yeah, so for the most part, our faculty have, well, for the all part, not the most part, they're very happy to receive the stipend. They see it as its acknowledgement of some extra work. But nobody, I haven't had anybody really bring that forward as a problem that they should be paid as a college faculty. So it hasn't come up.
Yeah, I would say in our district it has come up, not that they should be paid as the faculty, but that they, to be honest, they think the $500 is not enough for all the extra time they put in, and they would like to get more than that. But not the issue of getting paid at the college rate, but increasing the stipend for both materials and for their time. So that issue has come up. But like you said, these are mostly teachers who, it's good for their program, it's a great selling point for their program. For CTE, it gives you a lot of credibility, especially you're getting college credit for it. And a lot of them end up teaching at the college, and this opens doors for them as well. So it's been a win-win.
Well, I think we need to move on. Thank you, Team Shasta.